The newest roller coaster to open at Knott's Berry Farm is Hangtime. And today I will be reviewing the coaster. Hangtime originally opened back in 2018. It's built by Gerstlauer, and it is an infinity coaster model. I have been to Knott's Berry Farm twice now. On my first visit, Hangtime was unfortunately closed, but on my last visit, I was able to snag 3 rides on this coaster. And it was a pretty cool experience for me. This was the first coaster I had ridden by the manufacturer, and not only that, it was the first coaster I had ridden with a vertical lift hill and a beyond vertical drop. Hangtime looks great during the day. I think the presentation of this ride is pretty good, but it looks even better at night. The lighting package on this coaster is phenomenal. I haven't gotten to ride this at night yet, but I'm sure it is even better when the sun goes down. Hangtime typically runs 2 trains. The capacity isn't super great, as with those 2 trains, there's only 16 riders per train. 4 rows and 4 riders per row. If you go to this coaster first thing in the morning, it should be an absolute walk-on from what I've seen. It's pretty much in the back corner of the park, so not too many people go here immediately after the park opens. While Hangtime doesn't really have any theming, I do like the entrance sign, and I also really like the lap bar restraints. They're comfortable, and you know that you aren't going to get headbanging on this coaster because there's nothing to bang your head against. The ride experience starts with a 150-foot tall vertical lift hill. It definitely feels weird, and some people might be freaked out by it. Speaking of being freaked out, there's a holding brake that holds you for 7 seconds before the drop. And trust me, it feels as long as it sounds. After the holding brake though, you descend the drop. You plummet down, reaching speeds of 57 miles an hour on the 96-degree plunge. In the front, you're kinda hanging over before dropping, but in the back, you get a serious pop of ejector airtime. It definitely feels different riding in the front in comparison to the back. The back is all about the whip. Whether you like the front row or back row on this drop better just depends on what you like. If you like airtime, then you'll probably prefer the back row. The first maneuver after that is called a negative G stall loop. I've never really heard of this element before, but it really gives the ride's only actual hangtime moment. For a ride called Hangtime, you think it would have more hangtime, but at least this first element does give a little bit. And before you know it, you're flipping upside down once again. This ride is focused on inversions, and you see that in the first few elements. After those inversions to start your hangtime experience, you get a little bit of a break with an overbanked turn. This turn isn't forceful, but it does do its job to get you turned around for the rest of the layout. After that, you hit a sweet ejector airtime hill. This element might not be super sustained, but the ejector airtime you get is still so good, especially if you're sitting in the back row. For being called Hangtime, my 2 favorite moments on the coaster are moments of airtime. The first drop and this small but powerful ejector airtime hill are really fun. The ride ends with a cobra roll. It's weird to see this element so late during the layout, but it's a solid way to end the coaster. And before you know it, you've survived a 2,198 foot long coaster. Knott's Berry Farm has a lot of short coasters, and this one is also in the mix. It's not a super long experience, but honestly if there was much more, it might be too much for some people. The park and Gerstlauer had pretty much 0 space to cram this ride into, and I think they did a brilliant job. The amount of ride time you get is surprising given the footprint. Hangtime I wouldn't say is glass smooth though, even though it's only 4 years old. I didn't bang my head or anything, but it was a little shaky or rattly. I'm not sure which word would be better to describe it, but there is definitely a little shimmy to it at times. It wasn't a deal breaker for me though, and I thoroughly enjoyed my 3 experiences on Hangtime. For Hangtime's final score, it will receive an 8 out of 10. I actually really like Hangtime. And I think this is a pretty good addition to Knott's Berry Farm. Hangtime makes me excited to see what some of the other Gerstlauer Eurofighters or Gerstlauer Infinity coasters ride. The company is known for coasters like this, with lots of inversions and a beyond vertical drop and a vertical lift hill and a compact layout. And even with Emperor opening at SeaWorld San Diego, there still really isn't very much like Hangtime in the region. So yeah, I would definitely recommend experiencing Hangtime when you take a trip to Knott's Berry Farm. It's not the best coaster in the park or anything, but it's certainly a fun time.